Hey, what's up out there? David Duford here at davidduford.com, where I help insurance agents like you become top producing insurance professionals. I want to thank you today for joining me on my No BS monthly live stream training call that I do once a month, usually around the beginning of the month, which really is designed, as I turn this off, to be a way to ask any questions that you have related to selling final expense, Medicare supplements, annuities, mortgage protection, any kind of life insurance, sales questions, underwriting questions, you name it. The purpose of this live stream is to help you. And any burning questions that you have the opportunity to ask away and allow me to help you answer whatever questions you have. So if this is your first video watching me, generally speaking, I do YouTube videos several times a week on all sorts of topics related to life insurance sales training, as well as the aforementioned niches that you can sell into as well. I also recruit agents nationally. If you're interested in selling any of those products, I coach personally agents across the country to do just the same. You can go to davidduford.com and click the Join David's Insurance Agency to find out more about how these particular programs work. Chris Topping, hello. How you doing today? Thanks for joining me, man. Hope you're doing good. And I also, as you can see, I believe, over to my right on your left side of the screen, a little Vanna White here, have two books you can buy from me: The Official Guide to Selling Final Expense Insurance, as well as interviews with top producing insurance agents. You can find both on Amazon in hard copy or paperback, or ebooks on my website if you're looking for great training resources. So let's jump into what we're going to talk about today. So generally speaking, like I said, if you're just joining me, I do an open mic Q&A. You ask your questions, I answer them pretty much within a 30 to 45 minute training. I usually like to start the training here with a set topic where I allow you guys to kind of field the kind of questions you want to ask me ahead of time. I did a video earlier, and we're going to talk about today how to get better at setting appointments, no matter what kind of insurance product you sell. So we're going to talk about that shortly. And really throughout the rest of this training, I don't want you to think that this is all we're going to talk about. You're welcome to intervene, ask questions. I pay attention to the chat here pretty much throughout the entirety of the training. So again, if a question related to the topic comes up, ask away. If something else has been burning on your mind you want to ask, you're welcome to ask as well. So Merrill, Aiden, Hiram, Dwayne, the real Mark, how you guys doing? Thanks for joining. Oh man, we got 42 people on the show. Good deal. Okay. So first, before I get started, there's something very important I need to do. I've got a match here. I have a candle. I'm going to make sure I don't burn myself to death here. But I am lighting a candle for a very... Shit, hold on. I'm going to burn my finger off here before I do and turn on the alarm. I'm attempting to light a candle here for a good company that is not with us anymore, or won't be. At least I think it's at the end of today or tomorrow. You guys may have gotten emails from Settlers that Settlers is kicking the bucket as far as new business goes, which is a complete shock and surprise because they've been in final expense in some capacity, really having the same product since I've been in the business since 2011 and way beyond that. They announced abruptly that they are getting out of the final expense business, and which is kind of a shock. You may be wondering, well, why is Settlers exiting the final expense business? I think I don't really have any particular thoughts or ideas. That's right, John. Kaput. Hey, John. They basically, hey, Tanner, how you doing, Steven? They basically, I believe, just never really listened to us, the agents. Now, the irony of the insurance sales business, you must understand, is there is an effective balance between the carrier and the agent, all right? If an agent gets everything they want, the carrier is going to go broke, okay? Because we all want a carrier that doesn't check MIBs, doesn't do RX checks, and issues at the top 5 most competitive prices without an underwriting exam, right? Well, there was a carrier that was pretty much like that. It was called 5 Star, and if you're around several years ago, it was a great product till the claims went through the roof, and because of its loose and lax underwriting practices, and now it's just basically the same. It's kaput as well. So there's a balance between what the carrier wants, which is solid business that will pay for many years, that is underwritten effectively with minimal claims, and what the agent wants, which is a combination of different things like pricing, competitiveness, good underwriting practices, clear, black, white, distinguishing factors of what we're going to look at as far as what we're going to issue, amongst other things like not 15, 20-page applications, right, Dwayne? Like trans amendment, I should say. And there's always this kind of battle that you've got to fight. And it's just a part of this business that, unfortunately, we all have to deal with on some level. Unfortunately, Settlers just did not listen. I think they listened too much to the internals as far as what should be in their products. If you guys have ever looked at Settlers, I think one of the biggest problems with Settlers had to do with its tight underwriting, especially for what you were getting relative to the other products. Their primary product was a 5-year look back on most of the major conditions that we all are constantly looking at, like heart problems, cancer, whereas most competitive carriers are 2 or 3 years. Their prescription checks have always been problematic. They were in a situation where, you do a prescription check and, what other carriers would do, level, they would grade or put as bronze, which was essentially their 2-year wait. And then they restricted their bronze business to potentially 20% of your total volume, meaning if you wrote a 2-year wait with them, with the bronze product, you had to write another 4 different silver or gold plans, which is their first day product. So all these onerous things just don't cut it anymore in the independent distribution channel. You have got to have a product that appeals to an agent, because we have the power still in this market. Unlike a lot of other organizations or even industries, the insurance agent has the ability to go out, see the people, and close in a way that companies would dream to do on their own without you. Because I promise you guys, believe me, if they could do it without you, they would have already done it. They need you, and so there's this balance you've got to listen to, and it's a tenuous line to walk in final expense, because you don't want junk business, but you want to appeal to a group of agents that want to write it. The only outcome that comes from this, as I blow out my candle to Settlers, is that my opinion is the only way you can make a business model like this work. Hey, Rich, LA Frames, how you doing? Tom, Michael, how you guys doing? Thanks for joining. The only way you can get around this is to be in a captive environment like Lincoln Heritage. This is something that companies have to understand if you're going to get into the independent distribution model. You've got to have a unique selling proposition. You've got to be able to pitch agents on why it's a good deal to write with you versus the multitudes of other options out there. It is a competitive market for the attention of the agent, as you guys know. And if you just aren't cut out for it, you're not going to get a lot of volume. You're not going to get a lot of sustainable interest, and people will only place business with you on these weird niche case basis. Like the only reason I ever wrote Settlers was for the 10-pay bronze plan, or I would write them when I had somebody who had a TIA. They would give first day full coverage there, and they had height weight issues, or they were schizophrenic or bipolar and 35 or 40. I mean, it was weird niche cases. You can't build a big book of business on that alone. So bottom line, guys, for all you insurance carriers out there that want to write more final expense business, you got my email. Send me an email for a low 6-figure fee. I will tell you what to do. And what I can promise you is you won't have to exit this business because you missed some obvious point that a final expense agent knows shouldn't be a big deal. So there's my proposition. I'll be waiting for that phone call. So also, I would light a candle again for another company, but I don't want to kill myself. Forrester's, you may have heard, is getting out of the telephonic sales game. This is very weird news. As you may have heard, if you are around enough insurance recruiting organizations, telesales is the hottest thing. It's a big deal. The whole world's going telephonic. Nobody's ever going to see a face-to-face agent again. It's 2018. Who wants to see an insurance agent? Forrester is probably one of the biggest producers in the final expense arena, and definitely in the telesales game, probably has a big stake in it, has completely and will completely, I think at the end of the month, pull out of the telesales game. This is unprecedented. Most companies raise rates, retool their products, but the fact that they're pulling out of this market says a lot about the telephonic business. The reasons they stated in so many words were A, because of non-disclosure issues, and because their claim ratios relative to their face-to-face agents were way higher, out of bounds with what they would expect for their telephonic sales versus their face-to-face sales. Really strange. Same app, same process, same underwriting, way more people croaking on the telesales side versus the face-to-face side. So what does this all mean? Does this mean telesales is dead? No. I just think this is an indication that this particular business model is brand new for the most part. It's going to take some time to kind of figure out and see what works. I read a comment from a guy who does telesales. This guy's done $1 million in commission in the past 2 years in telephonic sales. I think he's got the right idea. He really thinks that telesales is basically going to go towards the sanitized, controlled route where you can record the entire conversation of the agent talking to the client, that there is enough CYA going on to back up everything that's happening, to keep things safe, and to make sure everything is legitimate. I think there's a lot to say with that because still we're kind of in the wild, wild west of telephonic final expense sales. As we can see, this is a pretty big move. So do I see this happening more? I don't know. It just depends. I mean, American Amicable has had their Pioneer Life product over the phone telephonic sales for a long time. North Star, you may have heard of them. They do telephonic sales. They've been doing the American Amicable partnership for years, as far as I know. Don't seem to be too tentative in their relationship there. They've had other relationships for a while. So I think, again, when you're in that kind of environment, it may just end up being a more captive environment where you got to use products with more fluid underwriting, maybe a little tighter issues here and there, and prices not so competitive in order to make and justify the sense of it. So, hey, Tom, how you doing? Yeah, man, I know I have to do a little commentary on the death of a few carriers and important stuff. So, yes. Hey, Ben, how you doing? Let's get started. So, we are going to talk about today, the main training topic is about how to become better at setting appointments. I recommend you, by the way, if you've got any questions that you have, again, this is a live training call. Feel free to ask away. You're welcome to jump in and ask any questions that you would like to see. Mr. Santana, how you doing today? Thanks for joining. So this particular question came from, I don't know who, but someone who left a comment who essentially, the idea was, you know, I set appointments. I'm trying to get more appointments booked over the phone, but I'm running into a lot of resistance. I'm not getting the kind of results that I'd like to see. What can I do, or what can you do, Dave, to help me out? So I thought about the question and compiled 5 different recommendations that I think cover the main aspects of where I see agents struggle the most with setting appointments. Now, again, to clarify, this isn't particular to any particular niche or any product. This is relevant training no matter what it is that you're setting appointments for over the phone. So this will relate to you because this is generic and specific types of recommendations that will increase, I think, the 3 variables, I think if my math is right, that make the biggest difference in your ability to set appointments. The first being the amount of connects that you make. The second being the amount of objections you hear. And then how you go through the process of actually thinking about your goal with the appointments. So let me go ahead and jump in right here and talk about what I think really is probably a bigger problem for more agents than anything. How many of you guys, I'm curious if you want to throw a number down in the chat for you guys that do call your own appointments, how many of your leads, I don't care what they are, how many of your leads never pick the phone up? Okay, you're calling your leads, you've called them, you called them again, morning, noon, afternoon, evening, and they're not picking up. What percentage of the total doesn't do that? So while I wait for that answer below, I have found that this number, I think, has gone up to an extent more so in recent years, where maybe 20 to 30% of people's leads, a lot of this depends on the area and some other factors we'll talk about, where they literally are unanswerable. You cannot get these people on the phone. And I don't know about you, but when I call, I would prefer a yes or a no because nothing's worse than a maybe or I don't know. So I want to get an outcome from a call. And so the first part of this training is, what can we do to get an outcome? Okay, meaning a yes, come see me tomorrow, or no, go to hell. First thing, of course, is call times. So it's really important that going into this process that you don't assume that the only time you're going to set appointments is in the evening for 1 hour between 7 and 8. It's better to go into this conservatively, thinking you're going to have to call from 9 to 11, 11 to 1, and then 5 to 8 in order to set your next day. And then from your experience on what you go through to set those appointments, determine based on that really how much call time you need to do. So the first tip is you've got to go into this calling like a madman. And it's not enough if you have 20 leads, you make 20 calls, you get an appointment or two, most don't pick up, and then you stop and it's 9:30. You have got to call them again. You call them from 9:30 to 10. You call them from 10 to 10:30. And then you call them from 10:30 to 11. You make it known you are trying to reach these people with a lot of activity and a lot of volume. Again, one thing I've noticed, because I don't really talk about this, I assume you just call these people to death through this period of time, is that a lot of people don't do that. They put them down, go back and do something else. They come back in the evening, call through them once, and then go back down again, maybe in the evening, this time 6 to 8, call through them once for that 20, 30-minute period. That doesn't cut it, okay? You have got to get them so curious with the volume of your calls that they cannot help themselves but to not answer. Now, another thing, again, I want to incorporate here is the triple dial method. I think I learned this from a mortgage protection agent, maybe real estate. Most of us, when we dial number once, goes to voicemail, and then we just hang up. We don't leave a voicemail. That's usually the typical training. However, what I want you to incorporate immediately is to start calling right after you hang up the first time. Wait 5 seconds, whatever. Call again a second time. You're going to get people to answer on that second call. If they don't pick up on that second call, call again on the third time. Now, let me explain why this is good. So most of the time, the cold calls and the telemarketer calls that people get are initiated from a call center, probably 80, 90% of the time. They're just going to call one time because what they're doing is they're running a massive dialer on a lot of different numbers, and they're just waiting for someone to pick up. And with the amount of calls being done, it's likely that someone will. So this technique is unnecessary. However, if you double or triple dial, the beauty here is that you're going to capture the attention of a lot more people because, first of all, it's not done all the time. Second of all, people are going to start second guessing the nature of the phone call. Is this someone I know? Is this somebody that's in trouble? Should I pick this up? Because now we have done essentially a pattern interrupt, right? We're doing something that's unexpected because this is unusual. And what you're going to find if you do this with every lead, you're going to get more people to pick up the phone. And they may call like, who is this? You just go right into your script and go into the reason why you're calling. And I promise you, if they're interested, they're going to pattern interrupt from being upset or what's going on to saying they're going to be really intent on listening, by the way, right? Because you've gotten their attention. They're going to listen to you. And if they're interested, they're going to convert that conversation to saying, oh, this is what this is about. Or if they're going to tell you to go to hell, they would have told you that anyway. Because now they're upset because you broke their safety valve where they don't like to deal with telemarketers. Yeah, so a couple of numbers here. Look at these numbers, man. So I asked earlier, if you're just joining, how many people here are in a position to where they literally call and nobody picks up the phone? Now, for you guys that answered, tell me what kind of leads you did are working. That would be interesting too. Steve says 80% don't pick up. What kind of leads you working, man? Perry, 65%. Ray, 80%. Dwayne, 15%. That's good. That's because he's working direct mail. Ron, 68%. That's crazy. So 2 out of 3 don't pick up. Shannon, hey Shannon, 70%. It's incredible. When I say what kind of leads, are they direct mail, Facebook, telemarketing, that kind of thing? What I find is that, just for your guys' edification, Facebook leads, hardest people to get to pick up in some respects. Telemarketing, it's funny, you think because they got picked up on the phone and were generated over the phone, they'd be more likely to pick up. Sometimes they're difficult too. Facebook leads, not Facebook leads. Yeah, that makes sense, Stephen. Kind of what I was expecting. Direct mail, less, depends on the areas you're working, but I see about 20 to 30% don't pick up ever. So anyways, where I'm going with this is that for you guys that want to purchase Facebook leads, my advice is to door knock these and expect that you have to door knock them. They just do not pick up the phone. I don't know if Jason's on the line here. I work with Jason. Thank you, Compass. Yeah, I've tried 3 calls, calling triple threat call. It works well. We're trained a guy locally. Well, he's from Mississippi, came up and trained with me. And the first presentation we did, this lady answered the door and she says, "Who the hell is this?" And says, "Oh, well, we're here because you requested information about Facebook." She says, "Man, I've been getting calls 20 times a day from these same people all the time. They're driving me nuts. I don't ever pick up the phone on these people. What do you want with me?" She was mad. And this is a video I talked about creating magic at the door. Jason did a great job. He took this lady who was mad as hell and turned her into a closer for like $55 a month. Just beautiful. But that's the point I'm making, is that this woman never would have picked up the phone because their Facebook leads, a lot of them are done by surveys, win a free iPad. You got to answer 20 questions and essentially a lead generation scheme. And one of those questions is, are you interested in burial insurance? And so what happens is that these people are overwhelmed with calls, and then they're chronic survey filler outers because they've learned they get money when they create or do these surveys or possibly win something. So it's kind of a whole funny ordeal. But the point is that a lot of these people do this and they understand the game, so they don't pick up the phone, right? But if you go see them, a lot of times those leads are actually pretty good. A couple of comments here. Steven, really like getting new tools for Toolbox. Absolutely, man. Steven says, I used to double dial. The second call made a big difference. I'll have to try the triple barrel. Yeah, 3-barrel shotgun approach, man. There you go. Hey, Bonnie, do you leave voicemails? How you doing, Bonnie? Hey, Bob, personally speaking, I prefer door knocking. Absolutely. At the end of the day, door knocking is a great way to get in front of people. There's a lot of technique that you have to learn for training, for appointment setting. I'll get back to that in a second. But man, if you got a good handshake, you got good eye contact, you can smile, it makes a huge difference. Most of us are good. What's a 3 call? That's where you call, you get voicemail, wait 5 seconds, call a second time, wait 5 seconds if they don't pick up by the second call, then call again for the third time. You're going to create what we call a pattern interrupt in your prospect, where they're just going to be dying to know who the heck is calling them like this. And you'll get a lot of people to answer like that. To answer Bonnie's question, no, I generally don't recommend that you leave a voicemail, because now they're going to recognize your number. They're going to want to know why you're calling. They're going to start going through a mental process of thinking, I don't know if I want to talk to this person. I don't know what to expect. And they'll get, in a sense, almost like a buyer's remorse. I want to make it kind of, I want to grab them when they're least expecting it so they don't have time to think too much about it. Thank you, Messiah. Appreciate it. Hey, Jim, 60. Yeah, absolutely. Bob says, eye-to-eye contact allows better rapport, so they can see I'm not from an alien form of life with one big eye in the center of my forehead. Yes, I say that. Yes, absolutely works fine. Again, life insurance is about creating relationships on some level. They may be transactional initially, but the best way to start a relationship is face-to-face, right? So, and again, a lot of agents are too lazy to go see their leads, so be the difference, right? Do I use a dialer? No, not when I'm calling leads, because it's a mechanical process. You may get in a position to where you're not getting pickups as well as you should. Just pick up the phone and dial. Most of you won't have too many leads. Tips over the phone, life sales to deflect. Let me think about it. Let me come back to that, because I'm going to talk about that in a minute. Hey, Ruth. Yeah, let me get to that in a minute. Okay, so I've gotten off track here, but let me get back on. Talked about triple dial. That's great. Number 3 is always anticipate objections. So I learned this from an agent named Caesar, lives in San Antonio. He comes from Wall Street, and he said one of the things the wirehouses would train is that when you call to set an appointment, go into it expecting they're going to say no. If you can think that they're going to say no, and you can anticipate a negative response, you're going to be that much better at turning around with your whatever rebuttal that it is. So we all like to think, right, that when we make a call that everybody is going to allow us to come in, right? Well, here's the problem with that. First of all, it may happen occasionally. It may happen some of the time, but it doesn't happen all the time. There's going to be a level of success in turning objections around, and you've got to be prepared to handle that. So it's best to go in with that anticipation, right? The second thing is that if all you get are the people say, oh yeah, I remember sending that card off a month ago, that card with no real specific information. I don't really know who you are. Come on over. My question to you is, do you think they're going to tell that to the next guy that comes and calls on them. My point is, if you can overcome the objections are kind of like a gatekeeper. If you can rebuttal them effectively and set the appointment, you're going to sit with harder to reach prospects that the vast majority of agents will never get to. And what inherently happens is that quality, that business, if you sell it, of course, is going to be harder to get for other people. Whereas there are seniors, as you guys know, sell final expense or Medicare or whatever. If you sell anything in the senior market, there's people just want you to come over and talk about whatever. Professional visitors, that's what they think of us. And if you happen to sell them, they're nice enough people that they're going to allow the next guy to come in. And what may happen, of course, you may lose the deal to a replacement or get talked out of it or something. So it's important to learn how to rebuttal objections simply because it allows you to get more appointments and better quality clients that are harder for other agents to get to because most people, bottom line, don't do a good job of rebuttaling. So a couple of things here. Phone sales, I'll get to that in a minute. Remind me if I don't. Jim Bean, if you can knock a door, phone call should be super easy. We're all coming from a phone pro, sure. What about preset appointments? What's your take on that? John, preset appointments, I don't like generally. Now, the funny thing, of course, is I do preset appointments for my annuity program. I recruit agents to sell annuities that come into a preset program. We set the appointments for them on cold calls. They just pay for them and run them. They work generally well. But in most cases, like with final expense, unless you've hired somebody that you personally have trained, you've monitored and coached, a lot of them are just junk. They outsource them to the Philippines or Pakistan. The seniors get aggressed into an appointment. They don't understand they don't even really hear them. They just agree to get them off the phone, and then you show up and they're like, get off my porch. I told that person not to send you here. It's very frustrating because it sounds good, but it just isn't. So they can work. It's just how it's set and how you do it that makes all the difference. And I believe hiring somebody, if you want to go that route, is the best deal. But at the end of the day, direct mail works really well for selling final expense and most other products. And it's best just to do what has been proven to work instead of trying to reinvent the wheel. Let's see here. Doug, tips for over-the-phone sales to deflect. Let me think about it. I don't have a lot of over-the-phone sales experience, so I'm not going to get into too much detail, but I can tell you my philosophy behind sales. If you hear let me think about it a lot, you haven't done a good job of creating trust. You haven't done a good job of creating value. And you probably haven't done a really good job of asking solid questions to dig deeper into the emotional needs and desires of your prospect. Again, people say, let me think about it because they don't really need to think about it, okay? Now, I could do a whole series on, well, what do you mean by that, blah, 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 blah. But the truth is, most of the time when you hear that, you just didn't do a good job on the front end. I teach insurance agents that the front end is the most important part of the sales call, not the close. Close is overrated. Look, you can close anything if you've done a really good job of asking open-ended questions that get to the core of what matters to the client, and you can show them how your product solves their problem and how they can get peace of mind and relief. If you can do that just by asking them which program works best for you is the only close you need to deal with. And the objections that you get will be very minimal because if they were a condition, meaning something you can't overcome, you would have gotten out of that call a lot earlier. So again, the point is that let me think about it. I think go back to what questions you're asking. Specifically ask open-ended questions. Better yet, figure out what the main objections are to whatever it is that you're selling. And then answer those objections earlier on. Price is an objection, say, for final expense. That's why I teach agents to ask about budget. If I can qualify you for a program today, can you afford somewhere between $80 and $100 a month? And then I shut up and let them answer. I'd rather find that out in the first 15 minutes than at the end of a 45 or 60-minute sales call over the phone or face-to-face, right? So I think it's important to understand the context and ask those tougher questions earlier on. Don't save them for the end. You'll find you waste a lot of time and get frustrated. Ask them up front, learn what they are, and you'll find that when you get to talking about the product and asking for the sale, it's very simple. It's not complex and it's not stressful. All right. Hey, Jim, totally work for companies that use overseas phone rooms. Garbage. Absolutely. They are. Okay. So, objections that you're going to hear on the phone, guys. Throw out some objections that you hear if you want me to ask any. Now, this is appointment setting objections. Give me a few that you hear. I'll kind of give you my script on how to deal with them. I won't give you any. I'll just kind of wait for you guys' opinions and experiences, and we'll go over that in a minute. And then while I'm waiting on that, the last point here is to sell the appointment, not the product. This is a very important concept that is good for basic appointment setting. If you're advanced, you may sell the product a little bit or qualify the appointment a little bit, but I am from the old school to where your purpose in life as an appointment setting insurance agent is to just get the appointment, simply because the sales prospect, as I think Jim, perhaps it was Bob too, were saying, selling is so much easier when you're face-to-face with your prospect, okay? Why is that the case? Well, here's the thing I realize, guys. These people don't care about, well, they say they kind of care, but they care less about the product, the pricing even, how even the product works, and more so of who you are and can I trust you, okay? This is very important for you all to understand. You are the critical component to making a sale or not. You are the critical aspect that drives really the insurance business. Everything rests upon your ability to make a connection and derive trust with your prospect so that you can earn the right to sell them something and take their money where nothing existed prior to that and put in force a contract that protects their lives. It's pretty powerful stuff. This is why, like I said earlier, the insurance companies aren't going to get rid of us because they can't duplicate this process with technology. People want service. They want help in advising. So this is why we sell in the appointment and not over the phone. Because while you can sell over the phone, of course you can sell over the phone, so much of that personal aspect is missed out upon. You don't get the handshake. Like Bob said, you don't get the eye contact. You don't see the smile. You don't get the body language. You don't get all these tangible and intangible cues and aura and the atmosphere that you get face-to-face that you don't get over the phone. So I say all this because you have to understand this is why I suggest, really recommend, as a new or even experienced agent, again, many top agents I've interviewed do just this too, is they sell the appointment. They don't sell a product over the phone, they sell the appointment. So how does this sound? It's very simple. Hey, Mrs. Duford, this is David Duford. The reason I'm calling you is because you replied to a postcard requesting information on state-regulated life insurance. I'm calling today because I'm the person responsible for delivering this information. I want to see if you have 5 minutes for me to stop in and just show you how this program works. How does Tuesday at 2 or would 10 be better? There's absolutely no talk about the product. Of course, I mentioned what they did, what action they took to jog their memory. I mentioned the card, but I'm not talking about this is with Transamerica. This is a standard pricing. Here's the coverage for 10, 15, and 20. Why do we not do that? For all the reasons mentioned. Plus, hey, we don't know. I don't know anything about your health, your age, your other factors, what matters to you, what are you concerned with. And that's what a face-to-face consultation really does. And then anytime you hear an objection, let's take a look at some of these objections here. Scrolling up here, give me a second here to look. Like, let's say Ben says, call me back tomorrow. I just take that as, hey, I understand you're busy. Let's just set an appointment. I'm in your area tomorrow. All I need is 10 minutes to show you how this works, and what you need or what you do with this is entirely up to you. Would Tuesday or tomorrow at 2 or would 10 work better? So the process there is they're saying one thing, I'm feeding it back as what I really want. Oh, you're busy. No problem. Why don't we go ahead and just set an appointment, since we're on the phone now, for tomorrow at 2 or would 10 be better? That's all you have to do, because they're just saying that they're busy. And what that's going to allow you to do is they're going to say, well, okay, or they're going to say, screw you, bye. You know, so you kind of test what they mean, because many times one of the most important things about appointment setting is that at the end of the day, you know, when you hear an appointment setting objection, it may not really be that. People say things that they don't mean all the time, right? And it goes without saying in handling objections, a lot of times people don't mean it. It's just, it's a knee-jerk thing. Well, I don't see anybody. I pray over this stuff, or whatever. So you got to just understand that what really people are objecting to is dealing with a sales call, kind of the uncomfortableness of dealing with a salesperson, which is why we sell the ease of the appointment, right? You notice in my rebuttal, I said, I quickly rebutted it. Hey, It sounds like you're busy. Let's set an appointment for 5 minutes tomorrow at Tuesday at 2 or at 10. That's all I said there. Now you can continue on, which is better, I think. All I need is 10 minutes to show you how this works. Again, not to sell you a policy, but show you how this program works. What you do with the information is entirely up to you. How's Tuesday at 2 or would 10 be better? So I sell the appointment. What you do with it's up to you. No obligation. Sometimes I like saying, hey, if you like it, great. If not, you can kick me out. No problems. We'll still be friends. Kind of get them to laugh a little, resistance break. And then close. How's Tuesday at 2 or 10 be better? So you can really use the script for any of these other objections that we're going to hear here. So let's kind of go through some of these. Let's see. I already took care of that objection. So let's say I already took care of that. Hey, that's totally fine. All I need is 5 minutes to show you how this works. Look, what you do with this is totally up to you. If you like it, great. If not, no big deal. So I almost say, hey, congratulations. That's great to hear. All I need is, and not just go into setting the appointment. Again, you can explain it, but what you'll find is again, once you understand that objections aren't necessarily entirely logical, that they're mostly emotional and knee-jerk, you don't have to really address it. You just have to respond to it and just continue to set the appointment anyway. Because what they'll say is, well, I already got it. You're going to come over here and waste your time. Hey, that's fine, because all I need is a few minutes to show you how this works, and then I'll be on my way. So is 10 o'clock good? If that's what they say to that. Or they're going to say, bye, So you can't, the more you try to defend and you go into this dissertation on a rebuttal, they're going to lose interest. They're going to start pulling away from you. So you don't want to spend too much time talking. You want to spend time selling the appointment and getting right back on track and asking again. I have no idea what you're talking about. No problem, Mr. Jones. All I need is 5 minutes just to show you this information that you requested. If you like it, great. If not, no big deal. But you see how this kind of all sounds the same, guys? It's like, but this makes sense. I have no idea what you're talking about. Totally fine. Let me stop by and show it to you for 5 minutes. What you do with this is up to you. I'm not going to give you a hard time. Would Tuesday at 2 work or 10 be better? Kind of see how it's the same process. I'm a big believer in processes, guys. You want to use the same process over and over. It allows you to memorize the stuff and just rattle it off a lot faster. I need to think about it. No problem, Mr. Jones. All I need is 5 minutes to show you this, and you can think about it all you need. How's Tuesday at 2 or 10 be better? I have doctor's appointments all week. Okay, so here's a good example. Many people think that you're a normal person that works 9 to 5. Of course not. We work whenever the client's there. Hey, it's 6:30. You guys probably got appointments, some of you out there. So say, hey, that's fine. You got doctor's appointments all day. I'm actually working late that night, only tomorrow. How would 6 o'clock or maybe 8 be better? Feed them some times. Again, they're thinking you're a normal person. They don't know you work weird hours. I didn't send anything in. Stephen, same thing. Hey, that's fine. Let me give me 5 minutes. I'm going to show you what this information is that you requested. Maybe it was somebody else. What you do with this is up to you, Mr. Jones. I'm not going to give you a hard time. How's Tuesday at 2 or 10 be better? Just send the info. Hey, no problem. I'm just going to stop by for 5 minutes and drop this info off to you. Look, if you don't like it, no big deal. I'm very busy tomorrow. I'm not going to give you a hard time. Would 10 o'clock or 2 o'clock be best? Kind of getting repetitive, isn't it? But that's the point. Aiden, do you have experience implementing prepared edited informational videos as part of your presentation? I'll get to that in a minute. I can't afford anything right now. Hey, that's fine. I'm not there to collect your money. I'm there just to drop this information off to you. And Mr. Jones, what you do with this is entirely up to you. All I need is 10 minutes to do it. Would Tuesday at 2 or 10 be better? I don't need any insurance. I'm donating my body to science. Hey, that's fine. Well, let me stop by and show you this. Give me 5 minutes just to show you this information you requested. Obviously, you sent this in for a reason. And what you do with this is up to you. Look, I'm not here to harass you. If you like it, great. If not, you can kick me out. We'll still be friends. How's Tuesday at 2 or 10 be better? It's kind of starting to sound, well, I'm repeating the fact that it is repetitive. Well, that's the point, right? Okay. Ooh, man, I'm out of breath, all that objection rebuttal. But you get the point. Just go watch this on the recording. There's going to be a recording about this, guy. So share this with all your agent friends if they need appointment setting help. But listen to this script again. We're at the 38-minute mark. So if you start around the 30-minute mark, you'll kind of hear this repetitiveness again and again and again and again and again. It doesn't need to be any more advanced than this. You don't need to do anything other than this particular script. Six-figure agents are doing this particular script right now, okay? Where they do it well is they just say it. They don't hesitate. They're natural, and they believe it. because all they're going to do is stop by for 5 minutes and show them how it works, and what they do with it's up to them. I'm not out to harass anybody. You know, I have the conviction of my beliefs behind that particular rebuttal. None of you guys are either. These people just assume the worst, right? So they need to know that it's no big deal. They just let us roll in and try to close them, which, you know, we won't if it's not appropriate. All right. So, again, let me kind of go from the top here for you guys joining in on the call. Thank you guys so much on the live stream today. We have 84 people watching. I think that's a new high. So I appreciate every one of you joining. So what we talked about today, and by the way, this is a great time to ask any questions. If you guys asked a question, I happen to miss it in the chat, feel free to repeat yourself. This is a great time to answer any questions. I got about 10 minutes or so. I can answer any particular types of questions as brief as possible. So 5 ways to get better at setting appointments. 1, call a lot. Don't just call through your 20 leads and then leave it alone till the evening. Call them again and again and again and again. 3-4 times in the morning, 3-4 times in the evening. Do what you have to get these friggin' people on the phone, because for a lot of you, that is the #1 problem. That's more important than the rebuttaling script. Number 2, triple dial. Use this in conjunction with the volume of calls that you make. You're going to get a lot more people to pick up. Number 3, anticipate objections, okay? You should get to the point of wanting to hear objections, because it gets you in the door of better quality prospects that are really good at keeping weak agents out that cannot rebuttal very well. Number 4, I didn't mention number 4, have energy. I think that's self-evident. You only have your tonality. You only have your voice on the phone. And make sure you transmit over the top to an extent about your intent. Because if you sound like this and you're talking like this, they're not going to want to have you over. You sound like a goober. But if you sit up straight, you talk with energy, you're excited, man, that stuff transmits awesome over the phone. And people want to be around excited people. May sound corny, but it really works. Enthusiasm is everything. Number 5, sell the appointment, not the product. The phone is for getting in the door. The appointment is selling yourself and your product too. Words of wisdom to live by. All right. Let's go. Who's got questions? I got answers. All right. Again, if you asked a question and I missed it, repeat. Ruth, I can set appointments very well, and selling over the phone has not been an issue since I was able to sell evil timeshares on a cold. That's good. On a cold call. Favorite rebuttal is they do not make decisions. What do you say to that, Ruth? I'm kind of curious. I assume you do not make decisions the same day, or I need to think about it. Let's see here. Ron asked, how about Facebook leads? Door knock or call for appointment? You can do both, but anticipate you're going to have to door knock them. Facebook leads are usually better economically than our direct mail equivalents. And thus, we know they have a smartphone most likely, and they're on Facebook, screwing around, checking their news feed, wasting time, and plugging away, inputting stuff. So they've got a level of sophistication many of our traditional final expense prospects on direct mail don't have. And so you can anticipate that they're going to have a little bit more skill and less desire to really picking up the phone and talking to an unknown number, as we all do. So I think it's safe to say a door knock is going to be really good. Carry a copy of the lead. A lot of these Facebook leads come with your favorite colors. What are your favorite hobbies? I like to mention what email you used, okay? So, is your email abc123@gmail.com? That's like saying, is this your signature on the card? That is a great way to say, oh, I guess I submitted this, because emails in many cases are private. And the fact that you've got it and you're showing up at the door makes a big difference. Compass, technology has created a void for human connection, which is people desperately need and want. Isn't it ironic? I've got a good book up here, guys. It's called The Shallows. I read it a couple of months ago. And essentially it's about how technology, not just the internet, but how even book reading, how traditionally human societies transmitted ideas and stories via the spoken word, and how the brain is adapted to the different approaches and different mediums of how communication it was and is, and how technology has made us all ADD to a certain extent, but how it's so funny we're all so connected, right? But there's so many, loneliness is such a big deal on so many levels now, and inadequacy and that kind of thing. So it's ironic, but you got a point there, Compass, because technology taking the personality or personalness out of a human interaction makes us want that much more of it, because humans, essentially nothing new under the sun, right? People are people, and they want connections. So even though people say I hate salesmen, if you're good at the door and you can create a connection, man, there's people out there who want to meet you and talk to you. Always well, and even more so these days. Jeremy, love it. Great. It was at 90. Good stuff here. Awesome. Hear that. That's great. Do you have a script written available for one of your agents like myself? Yes. It is on my training website. You can also get it if you join my Insurance Agent Inner Circle program. That's basically access to 98% of my agent training, but it doesn't require you to do any sort of insurance recruiting related business with me, meaning you don't have to put your contracts. It's $69 a month. It's $9.99 first month free, or first month trial. You can find out more about that at daviddufour.com. Just, you'll see Inner Circle up there. Click on that, watch the video, give more information. Let's see what else here. How do you deal with repeated reschedulers? Okay, good question. Kind of like how I deal with lapsomatics. Give them 3 strikes and you're out. That's essentially how I work. I've written policies on people that swear it up and down they're going to keep it, and then they lapse it 3, 4, 5 times. Me being a sucker, used to be. I don't do them anymore. I had a story once from a lady that on Facebook that does final expense, and she bragged how she rescheduled with the same person 20 times, and on that 20th call, literally 20th preset appointment, she sold 7 policies and made like $6 grand. And she was patting herself on the back about her persistence, and there's something to be said about that. However, my rebuttal of that was, okay, you had 20 preset appointments and you lucked out. Odds are very low you would have made that much money and that sold that many policies. What if you set 20 appointments with first-time leads that you've never saw before? And using your statistics, she said she closes like 60% of her presentation. She would have booked, what, 12 deals? She would have sold 5 more policies and probably would have been a lot less frustrated. So you see the psychology of that is like sometimes we have this weird experience. I think it's there's a psychological term for it. It's like it's not negative reinforcement. It's when something happens that's so unusual, we like fixate on that, and then like we operate on the exception to the rule. Like that was an exception to the rule. Most of the time, if you go pursue somebody that many times, you're just wasting your valuable time. But in her mind, she justifies it as saying, that's why we never give up. We're all relentless. And it justifies this, in my opinion, negative behavior pattern. Again, I'm not going to argue with results. But sometimes you have to you've got to follow what works and what the rules are. Don't let exceptions get in the way. So for me, it's 3 strikes and you're out. And I don't care. I don't waste time on people after enough of that crap. Do you have a script? I think I answered that. Steve, I don't make decisions unless my financial advisor approves it. What context of the sale is that? If you can kind of give me that, Steve, I might be able to help better. Bob says, I had one elderly lady say she sent the card in because she wanted someone to talk to. Yeah, that's a lot of people. Just curious, Aiden, about your thoughts on my question about the value of video and sales presentations. I think they can be good. I know there have been agencies that have based their whole sales presentation around a pre-recorded video. Like Lincoln Heritage, I think they did that in California in Golden Memorial at one point, where they would have on the laptop basically testimonials from people who did A, B, C, X, Y, Z. And it was kind of this branding, value-building introduction. But it does not take the place of you, the agent, okay? Nothing exchanges your value. You are the critical cog in the machine that without it, it fails entirely. So for me, video, testimonials, props are all supplementary to you. You can do just as well if you're good at this without any props, because once you understand that the nature of sales is based on human connection and experience and relationships, that's all you need. John Savage, one of the guys I read over here, dude would just dude would sell with a yellow legal pad and literally circles and lines, okay? That's how he sold elaborate sales, because he understood, and here's the other thing, is a good salesperson, a great salesperson understands that you must take the complex and make it simple, okay? Most people don't get insurance. They definitely don't get financial stuff. So you got to take things and make them into simple concepts like John did with circles and lines and triangles and shapes. Because that's just how people are. Most people aren't mathematically oriented. They're not financially oriented or insurance oriented. They're in their lives, working their shifts, working their jobs, and their mental state is elsewhere. They want to keep the stuff simple. So always remember that. And it's you that is the driving force behind it. Jeremy, how do you handle direct mail leads that have on the card and they want the gift card? Do you give the gift card or make them go through the presentation? So in the case of a Walmart gift card, I would recommend giving it to them at the conclusion of the sales call, because that at least gives you the opportunity to sell them. What I found working, I've worked extensive amounts of, I call them gift card mailers, Walmart gift card mailers. What I found is that you replace the, is this free government insurance objection? I thought this was free objection, with people who pretend to play prospect. And if you don't mention the gift card, they're like, didn't this gift card or didn't this thing have something with like a gift card with it? You know, and so they're waiting for you to hand out their goodies, but they'll play and pretend like they are up to that point. It's very frustrating. You might want to test this out and see what works best for you. There's no set answer to this. I would start off by saying, hey, you sent this card in, talked about a gift card, but it also talked about life insurance, taking care of final expenses, that kind of thing. And what were your thoughts and concerns when you sent the card in? Go into the regular script and save the gift card for the end. Try that out. Try giving the $5, hey, here's your gift card up front. If you don't mind, I'd like to talk to you a little bit about how this program works and see what works better. I did both, and for me, the conclusion was better than the beginning. But that was personal experience. Okay. Let's see here. 2 different cards, $5 and $25. Some do buy. Absolutely. I wouldn't send out the $25 gift card mailer. I had one lady say, I thought this gift card was $50. And I said, no, ma'am, it's $5. She's like, oh, okay. And I had one guy, I sold him on a life insurance. They wanted it. And I said, all right, man, I'm ready for my $5. I'm ready for my gift card. And I said, here it is. He said, how much is it for? $5. He said, shit, I don't want that. You take it back. It was pretty funny. He was mad. He never let his policy go. He was upset, though. He thought he was getting something better than that. Adam, hey, Adam Rasmussen, is your appointment process in the inner circle where you ask them their budget early in the appointment? Is your appointment, can you rephrase it? Is your appointment process in the inner circle? Oh, yes, it is. So if you go in there, you go into the training section, look under whatever particular product it is you're interested in. We do training on selling Medicare supplements to turning 67 and older, mortgage protection, final expense, and then annuity sales. You'll see it under the pre-qualification section, and it'll go into the, it's not in pre-qualification. It's in the sales training section. You'll see it, and just follow that. Joshua asks, I'd like to hear your thoughts on telesales. So I talked about this in the beginning. I'll try to shorten it. Depends on the product. Term insurance, way more advanced, way more effective. The process is a lot easier. Final expenses in the initial stages, I think in the beginning stages, it'll get refined and improved. We just had Forrester's, big final expense producer, pull completely out of the telesales game. That's a huge blow to the business model. A lot of carriers are going to look at that and look at this business with suspicion, simply because the Forrester's was saying there was issues that weren't revealed from the client over the phone, and that there were more death claims that relative, in both cases, to face-to-face sales. And instead of pricing the product higher, they just said, forget about it. And so this is a big concern with carriers. They're going to watch the big movers in the telesales game, and they're going to think, well, what's that mean? How does that mean for us? So I think it can work well. There are successful organizations doing it. I generally think the best ways to do telesales, I don't do anything personally telesales-wise as far as recruiting goes, is to look at call centers like Northstar, PPG's, kind of an affiliate broker program with them. And really, if you can, get in a call center environment. Don't do it from home, even though there are some people who do it well, and just go from that process on. So, ladies and gentlemen, last call for questions. We're on about 50 minutes now. I hope you guys enjoyed this training. Steve, I'll try my best here. I don't make any decisions without my financial advisor approves it. I would say, hey, great. I'm not asking you to make a decision today. It's probably, I think the best thing to do, Mr. Jones, is when you show this to your financial advisor, let's show it based on the fact that you've already been approved. So why don't we get the process started? Let's get all the application filled out today. Let's schedule your exam. Let's see what they're going to rate you at. I don't even know if I can get you approved, Mr. Jones, and I don't want to waste your time thinking you can get this, even if your financial advisor says it's good to go, and then it ends up getting declined, and then we're in this whole process that's frustrating. Why don't we just go ahead and do that, get it started, and then once you're approved, let's sit down with the financial advisor and look at this as a team. Does that make sense to you? It's kind of something like I would do in that regards. Hey, Charlie, Bob, thank you very much. Last question here, Peter. On seminar marketing strategies, do you sell the kit to independent agents? Yes. Go to my website, daviddufour.com. Click the seminar marketing at the top, and you can buy it independently. I also have a program where if you do some business through me, you don't have to have all your contracts with me. I'll actually refund you after you produce 5 pieces of business. You can find out more about that on the training website for more information. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I enjoyed this training. I hope you got some value out of it. Sorry it's getting dark here. With the time change, the natural light has reduced significantly. If you guys have any questions, you can go to my website at daviddufour.com, click the Contact Me box, and send me a message. You can also leave a comment below if you're watching this recording. I'll answer pretty much all questions that people ask. And if you're interested in joining my agency to sell final expense, mortgage protection, Medicare supplement, or annuity, go to daviddufour.com, click the link at the top that says Join David's Agency to peruse the various videos on how the programs work, what I require of agents, and to set an appointment if it sounds good for you. You guys have a good rest of the day, and I would say go vote if you haven't already, but I think the polls are, at least on the East Coast, are closing, but go ahead and do that if you don't mind. It's kind of important. All right, guys. Take care.